Welcome to Worriosity, where we unpack what makes you bite your nails
and keeps you up at night. We are two minds,
one spiral. Let's get to it. Hi there, and welcome to this week's edition of Worriosity,
where we are going to be talking about fur babies.
Fur babies.
Our pets.
Those special little babies in our house that make us so happy that don't talk back and bring us lots of joy.
I don't know.
Sometimes they talk back.
They sometimes talk back.
So I currently have a cat named Floyd.
Pretty boy Floyd.
Pretty boy Floyd. A little note about the name. My very first cat was Sadie. I had never grown up with cats. And when Jason and I got married, he said, I think you need to change your mind about this. I think you would actually like having a cat. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not a cat person. I didn't really get to grow up with pets at all. We had a pet for 6 months when I was about 8 years old. And then I think my parents rehomed it, or it got sick, or something happened. They didn't really give me a lot of details. Anyway, so my first pet was truly my own first pet was once I got married, and it was our first year of marriage. We were living in Nashville, and we went to, it was a no-kill animal shelter, and I actually don't remember what it was called, but it was a nice place in Nashville. Age, what are you going to do? It'll come to me, but probably at 3 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, so we got Sadie, and we went in there, and he's like, I want you to just get to know the cats. We don't have to come home with one today. Famous last words.
Yep.
And we go in, and there are all these cute cats, but then there's this one who looks like an actual basketball with little tiny paws and little head, like a hard, round ball. And this sweet cat, I don't even know what her name was at that point, they said she was special needs. And so
those are the famous last words.
Yes. And so I said, I want to look at this one. And Jason's like, her? What? And he's like, but all of these. And I was like, I want to look at that one. And so they brought her out, and her fur was kind of rough. She didn't have a lot kind of going for her. She'd been found on the streets giving birth to kittens. And all her kittens had been adopted, of course. And they said she was somewhere between 2 and 3 years old and with special needs because she had like some sort of kidney problems or something. I don't know.
She was just a chubby little cat.
Stressed. And so they put her on the floor in this big room where they had a climbing tower and all of this. And this kindergarten class came in for a field trip to bring supplies to the shelter. Happy Tales. I came up with the name. See, I told you it would come to me, and it came a lot.
It came
sooner than I
3
expected.
a.m., yeah.
So this kindergarten class comes in, and Jason and I just sort of watch. And what became Sadie? Sadie sat there and let all of these little kids just pet her. Like, she didn't even move. She just purred and let them pet her. And I said, that's my cat. That is my cat. And he's
that's
like,
exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah. And he goes, you're right. I think that's our cat. And so he changed it to our. I was already like, it's my cat. And so when we went to adopt her in the little room, it had a glass window, and she climbed. It was hard for her at the time to climb up the thing, and like a cat tower. She climbed up the tower and sat there and watched us adopt her.
Adorable.
Oh my God. I mean, she became like my soulmate for the next 15 years.
Well, so what I'll say is that we were talking about Floyd, and she
Yes,
said a
yes.
little bit about the name, and then she launched into Sadie. So that should really show you.
It's a progression.
It's a progression. Right. Let's get there.
Okay, yes, fair.
So you've met Sadie, the true and first love of her fur baby life.
Yes. Then there's some in-between stuff happening, and we'll get to that too. But now we have Floyd. And, when you've lost animals in your life,
as special as Sadie, especially.
Yeah, I mean, she was so special to us, and I knew I had to have another cat, and we had another cat temporarily that actually belonged to Caitlin,
which we will definitely get to later.
And so
that's a rough one.
That's rough, but that goes in between Sadie and Floyd. But we needed a cat, and there was just no bones about it. And Jason finally said to me, I think he was at work, and he called me, and he's like, all right, listen. This was sort of out of the blue. He's like, all right, listen. I know we need to get another cat. And he said, It is free cat adoption month at the animal shelter, Animal Control. And why don't you go and just take a look and see if there's any cats you might like.
Again, take a look. Like, you're not going to come home with...
So I went, and then I called him. I'm like
he'd learn his lesson.
He doesn't. And he goes, but there's one stipulation. It needs to be, well, actually two. It needs to be a boy, and we're going to name him Julio. This was what he required.
Julio, I've never heard this story.
Yes.
I've never heard this story.
This was going to be his requirement because I think it was July, the month of July. And he's like, it's July, it's free cat month, and we're going to name him Julio. And I'm like, we'll put a pin in that, and let's see what happens. And so,
boy, maybe. Julio.
So I go to Animal Control by myself. Totally bad move, because then I make a phone call to him, and I'm like, how many can we get? Not which one. How many should we get? Should we get? And I said, because there's a pair that they want to be home together. And I said, they're very cute little kittens, and I think I'd like to just take the little brother and sister. And he's like, really? Because we had dogs. We'll get to the dogs too. We had dogs at the time, and he's like, we really just need just the one cat. I think that's going to be enough for us. You know, we have the kids, we have your sister, we have
the OG pets.
So yeah, we have the kids, the dogs, the Caitlin, and so we can only do one cat. And so, all right. So I found this cat, and he was in his little condo in the very back. So it gave me Sadie vibes, you know, like this was a cat felt like needed me. In the back, too shy to come out for anybody else. And they said his name was Floyd. And I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be this one because I actually loved the name. We have a family history for this
now
name.
We're getting to the name. Right.
Yes, where I had tried to start at the very beginning of this. And I promise I will let you talk at some point. But we have a famous cousin. Yes, he's sort of like a distant cousin in our family who was a famous G-man. These were members of the FBI who took down these famous gangsters in the 20s and 30s. And one of the big gangsters they took down, well, a couple of them were like John Dillinger, and Pretty Boy Floyd was the name of a really famous gangster. And so I looked at this cat whose name was Floyd, and already my mind was, what a pretty boy. So he's Pretty Boy Floyd.
What a pretty boy.
What a pretty boy. Immediately. It's what came to my mind. And he's really tough looking. He's small. But he's got like a sleeve, like a tattoo sleeve is what it kind of looks like with his markings. And the other is just like white. You know?
He also you know how like some cats, like they just look like really cutesy or they like smile all the time. Floyd's like very serious. He's like when he walks around.
He's a gangster. Yeah.
He's a gangster.
But no. So it was immediate. And when I went into the little room with him, and he was terribly shy, but I knew he needed me.
Right.
He moved in, and for 6 months, he stayed in one room for 6 whole months, to the point where everyone else was like, I don't know, was this the right cat to get? And I'm like, just trust. He needs time. And then a Christmas miracle. You remember this?
I do.
Yes. Christmas morning. He walked out of our little library study area and was peeking, what are we doing out here? And hasn't gone back since.
Yeah, no.
Now he rules the house.
He rules the house.
6 full months of that. Well, because our dog, so at the time we had 2 dogs.
And he wasn't used to dogs, definitely.
No.
He definitely did not like having to share the house with another animal and whatnot, but... I think that's why
he was a kitten.
Yeah, he was small and he was very shy, very nervous. And then she had 2 dogs. One was about Floyd's size, but then the other one was very large and kind of in your face.
That was Lego. So Lego is a Labradoodle,
yeah.
More lab than doodle. And he made it weird.
He did. He made it weird.
He
made a lot of things weird.
Yeah, he would walk up to Floyd and just stand within inches of him and stare at him. And Floyd was like, oh my God, this big blonde thing is coming at me. And at one point, we were holding Floyd, and Lego took his tongue and just swiped straight up Floyd's stomach. And Floyd was like, I will cut you if you ever do that again. That was the look this little kitten gave to him. And Lego really had a hard time, adjusting to, what is this little creature? Why does it not want to come out and love me the way that I want to love it? I mean, that's really what it was all about.
It really was.
So yeah, those are our 2 cats. We still have Floyd, and Floyd is absolutely amazing. he is now my little soulmate. So now we're going to get to Caitlin's cats before we talk about the dogs.
Right. Okay, Caitlin's cat. So, just like my sister, we didn't really have pets growing up because, obviously there's a gap. So it was very different, different households, but similar rules, right? We had
But you did have a cat when you were a teenager.
No, I'm getting to that. Yeah, so, when I was younger, we didn't have any pets. We did try to get a dog. Again, another rehousing situation. I think our parents really wanted to do it, but it just wasn't.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, and it's definitely not something I condone, especially now as an adult. But I do understand, especially with my dad. He was a single parent raising a child on his own, and I think he thought, oh, this will be really great. And then he's like, wait, this is so much. This is so much work. So, so after that, I was like, I had been bitten by the bug. I was like, I really like having pets. I'd like another dog. My dad was like, absolutely not. So I said, well, how about a cat? And just like my sister, my dad was like, I hate cats. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So let's go check him out. And I somehow convinced him to go to the animal shelter, and he immediately fell in love with this very beautiful.
As one does. She was pretty.
She was so pretty. She was like this gray white cat with like these bright blue eyes, and he was like, that cat's coming home with us, and her name is going to be Zephyr. And I was like, ew.
I don't know why these men have such definitive ideas of what the cats are going to be called.
I actually know a wonderful dog named Zephyr, and I just got to say that name fits that dog. It did not fit this beautiful, girly cat.
Well, yeah, because wasn't it Zephyr Ginger was the middle name?
Because I want to name the cat Ginger.
But the cat was not orange.
Okay, well, so I was a child. Okay, let's start there. So anyway, long story short, we had Zephyr. ZG is what we ended up calling her, which made a lot more sense long term.
But it also confused people. I remember people being like, wait, what's the name? Gigi? No, ZG.
ZG, but it's fine. So my dad, fell in love with her. It absolutely became my dad's cat. Even though I really wanted it to be mine, it was definitely my dad's cat. So when he passed, the cat was... we lived in Florida. The cat was an outdoor cat by that point. She just liked being out and about and roaming free, and it just didn't seem right to drag her all the way to Maryland. So she actually stayed with the previous owners and stayed at the house.
Yeah.
And it worked for her. I got regular updates for a while. She ended up aging and passing, but it was pretty cool. So then moving in with Kat and Jason, got to be all around their fur babies, which just further, made me want one of my own. So in college,
we broke the rules.
I broke the rules. So I was working, volunteering, I should say, at an animal shelter through my sorority, and I loved going there. I kept doing it even after my hours were done. I just absolutely loved it. Would go and volunteer all the time. And I remember my sorority sister and I fell in love with this cat originally named Ralph. And
that was his name?
Yeah, it was Ralph.
Oh, I didn't know that.
When he first got accepted into their shelter, he had a little sign on him that said, "Be careful, I bite." And I was like, oh, that's weird, because he did not act like that at all. He definitely never bit any of us. And so I just fell in love with this cat, and obviously no one would adopt him because he had that sign, and he was an orange cat, and he was a little bit older. And so I remember in my college, you have to it's called comping. So you take a big exam to essentially pass college. And I remember I passed it, and I immediately got in the car, and as a celebration, I went and illegally adopted my cat, who I named Cheddar.
Now, you say illegally adopted. You legally adopted the cat.
I legally adopted the cat.
But he wasn't really allowed to live in your sorority
house. He wasn't allowed
house.
to live in our sorority house. And so, but he did for quite some time until the school found out, and then I had to house him temporarily in a friend's house.
Okay.
So when I graduated, I was like, oh, we got to go pick up Cheddar. My sister's like, what?
Who's Cheddar? Yeah, because this was another situation where I went and picked her up. Jason had some conference or something that he had to go to. So I brought a friend with me, and we went to pick her up and move her out of college, and had no knowledge ahead of time until she said, we have to go pick up Cheddar. And we said, who is Cheddar? So we had to go pick up Cheddar in Chattanooga. And so that was about, a 40-minute drive away?
Well, it was actually on the drive back. Remember, we had to go through Chattanooga to get through. So I was like, it's okay.
But so
And it was 30 minutes.
No, but to be fair, though, she hadn't packed anything yet.
Okay, all right.
And so...
Whoa. This is about the cat. Okay. Okay, so anyway, long story short.
No, but the reason why I say that is because then once we loaded everything else and you said we have to go pick up Cheddar, we're like, where is he going to be?
So here's the
car.
deal. So Cheddar, I had learned over time that Cheddar really appreciated not being in a crate. He was one of those cats that was better like on your lap or in like a little like under the seats or like whatever. Like that's just how he was. And I know like, I mean, come on, we see it on Instagram and TikTok all the time. Like that is just the kind of cat he was. And so when I told them that, they were like, what? And then once they saw it in practice, they were like, oh, okay. Because, like, he would just, like, sit on the lap. Like, he would look out the window.
In this 11-hour car ride, the cat would be on someone's shoulder. He would be, like, in the lap of the passenger. Maybe sitting in the little middle section in between the driver and the passenger. Really enjoying himself. He enjoyed the car ride a lot. Really a pleasant passenger, I would have to say.
Yeah, he was quite pleasant. And that kind of leads me to say he was just pleasant all around. Like, he was such a lover. The fact that he had this sign on him that said that he bit someone.
Oh, he did not.
I mean, he must have been quite stressed to have a sign on him like that. Because he was the biggest lover. I mean, my sister would always say that he, like, kind of took the breath out of you because he would lay on your chest.
He was a close talker.
Mm-hmm. He'd get right here on your face, and you'd be like, I just want to, like, watch something.
But he was hefty.
He was huge. He was a huge, hefty cat. And, you know, this is a series about worrying. So Cheddar came with a lot of worries. You know, he had something happen to his ear where he had to get surgery. So then he had kind of like a cauliflower ear when it was done.
Shriveled up.
And, you know, he struggled a lot with, like, you know, random bugs and things were just like weirdly attracted to him. So always having to take him to the vet to like kind of figure out like different, like more than normal cats I had or experienced before. But the creme de la creme is, you know, we were all living together. I decided I was going to go travel and backpack, which is a you know, something that we mentioned before. And when I got back, it was just really challenging for me to take him away from the house because the kids had just like really fallen in love with Cheddar, especially my niece. And so I made the difficult decision to not take Cheddar where I was going.
So he stayed with us.
So he stayed with them.
You could come.
Oh, yes, right. Yes. And I lived in the area, so I would see Cheddar all the time. But I remember it was my birthday. It was on the actual birthday. I get a call from my sister expecting it to be our annual like birthday singer.
I sing to
her.
her.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I'm not a good singer.
Not a good singer. But I was expecting it, and then instead she's crying on the phone, and she tells me that Cheddar died.
Not only did he die, he had either some sort of...
He had a kitty aneurysm.
Yeah, he had like some sort of neurological emergency or a heart attack or something where he died right in front of me.
Yeah. It was horrible. It was just horrible. Like,
horrible.
We'll leave it at that. So, obviously very traumatic for me because I was like, oh my God, my cat died on my birthday. Like, He wasn't with me. He was with my family, which is like, you know, great. Like, my family treated him well, obviously, but like, that was my love, my soulmate, my Sadie. So I remember I was living with a friend and, she called me only 3 weeks after that. And she said, how would you feel if I brought a cat home? And I was like, not great. Like, I just had
You weren't ready yet?
Yeah, I just had this. Well, it's 3 weeks. Like,
Yeah,
and
I know.
it was so traumatic. And so I remember being like, I really don't want that. And she, you know, told me like, oh, my friend's parents are moving in. They're allergic to cats. It's going to go to the shelter, and it's an older cat. She was 8 years old. And so I was like,
No.
Oh, no, she was 13. That's what she was. She was 13. Which is even older. So I was like, well, she'll never get adopted if she goes to a shelter. So like, okay, fine, you can bring her home. So I remember this cat came home and she immediately, like you said about Sadie, ran upstairs under my friend's bed and she was like hissing at my friend. She hated my friend, like hated her. And so she's like, I don't know what to do. This cat won't get out from under my bed. Clearly doesn't like me. I don't know why it hates me. So I go in there and I just sit down. And this cat immediately comes out from under the bed. No hissing, no anything. It's almost like she was like, oh, thank God.
It's just the wrong person.
Just the wrong person. And she immediately bonded with me. And so when I moved out, only like 5-6 months later, she's like, I'm coming with you. And so...
And her name was?
Bubbles.
Bubbles really was her name?
Her name was Bubba, and we were like, "Oh, that is not again another beautiful cat."
Oh, yeah,
she was
beautiful
like,
gray
oh my
cat.
gosh, she was a Russian gray, and she had like the most perfect soft fur and bright blue eyes, blue green eyes, and someone named her Bubba, and I was like, what the heck? So my roommate and I called her Bubbles because it just felt a little cuter, matched her a little bit, but she was grumpy.
Yeah, I really was never allowed to pet her. I was kind of told it's probably best that she might she
only
might react.
She only liked me, and then she liked my roommate out of necessity when I was gone. But she, you know, I think about that experience a lot because I was so worried about getting another cat so close. And it's almost like Bubba was what I needed to get through Cheddar, and I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of people can attest to this, can agree, as we talk about fur babies, is sometimes you're like, I just want to break when you have something traumatic like that happen, but then, you know, the need comes back. Like, you feel like you have to be another pet owner. So you go and you find that pet, sort of like what you said with Floyd.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that is interesting because... Are you done talking about Bubba?
Well, I was just going to say, Bubba lived to a nice, ripe 18 years old.
That's pretty great.
She had 5 glorious years with me, and she did pass of kitty cancer, but, you know, and that was very traumatic. That was during the pandemic, so, you know, there's a lot of things that I could say about that, like having to put her down in a parking lot because you weren't allowed inside the animal hospital. That was horrible.
Oh, my gosh.
Horrible. Another trauma, okay. But she was so perfect, and having her for those 5 years was awesome. But
and
like
you gave her a really beautiful life for those 5 years. You know? She
definitely.
Was happy and comfortable. And
we were what each other needed. But, you know, I'll say, and I know you're going to go into this, is like, I think right now you're kind of navigating that a little bit because you had 2 dogs for a very long time, and they've both recently passed within the past year. So, you know, how are you navigating that? You know, you have the most perfect cat ever.
Yes, Floyd is the best. He's a perfect cat.
He's chubby but adorable.
Best personality.
Well, yeah, to most.
Yeah.
Some might disagree because they've never met him because he hides. But
yeah, but when you get to know him, he's pretty fantastic.
But now, you know, having had dogs for a long time, you know, how are you feeling? Like,
well, yeah, finally, well, first, let me just have a follow-up to Sadie, is that when we did get her fur immediately softened. She lost all the weight. The doctor said, there's nothing wrong with her or her kidneys. She's totally fine. She was just stressed. And so that's another reason to go and adopt. Adopt from shelters. It really makes a difference in these animals'
Yeah, we're
lives.
talking about our worries with fur babies, but those pets are worrying, and they need a home that loves them. So
yeah, that's my little PSA for that.
Go save them from their worries and give them some love.
So then we got Luna. And Luna was, so my son was 15 months old, and we decided, this is a great time to get a puppy. I don't recommend that because if you're new to parenthood and you've never owned a dog before, especially a puppy, puppies are challenging. Puppies are a little bit like babies in the sense that they like to get up in the middle of the night. They make a lot of weird noises. They
chew things.
They chew a lot of things, and they don't necessarily do what you want them to do all the time. So at that point, my husband was working for the government, and so he was in the office every day, and we were kind of new to the area, and I had this 15-month-old. We got this puppy from a shelter, and she was the cutest little Beagle Basset mix. They think her mom was a King Charles Cavalier King Charles. I'm saying that right. But we never saw her. And then they think that Dad, because they already had the puppies at that point, that Dad was a Beagle Basset mix. So she was, you know, had the 3 colors. She was close to the ground, but bow-legged. Adorable.
Looked so cute.
Looked like a little Beagle. Oh, but she was so cute. But what was really hilarious about her is I took her to do training. I tried to do all the things. She was the sweetest dog in the world, not a mean bone in her body, but
dumb as a box of rocks.
Yeah, not so bright all the time. So I took her to training, you know, at one of these pet stores or like to a trainer, did a couple things, and they're like, yeah, we can train any dog, no worries. And then at the end of the class, everyone got their certificate, and they're like, we're sorry, we can't train her. She did not pass. I don't know what to tell you. Good luck, is basically what they said. And so I was like, huh, okay, this isn't great.
Not a good listener.
No, not great. And then it came to the point where I would call my husband at work kind of in tears sometimes because I'd be like, what have we done? If she was outside, she was digging holes in the yard and just barking because she's like a hound.
Disrupting everybody.
Yeah. Or if she was inside, she and my son were wrestling each other until one or both of them cried. So it was a situation that was not great for about a year and a half. And then finally, at the 2-year mark, everything calmed down completely. And she was like the perfect dog.
I mean, isn't that what everyone says, though, right? It's like the first 2 years of having a puppy. It's just like go, chewing, like
rough.
Learning, essentially calming down. Just like, I mean, if we think about it like a child is running around and kind of figuring out life, right? And so it's the same thing with puppies. But yeah, Luna was definitely like that. But I have to say that, like, Lego was the opposite. I mean...
well, no, not necessarily. So here's the thing about Lego. So then we have Luna. Luna passed away last year. She crossed the Rainbow Bridge last year at the age of 19.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was like 5 years of us being like, this is it.
This could be the year. This could be the year. So when Jason and I were trying to determine if this was the right time, because she really wasn't doing well, and it's always hard to make that decision. Like, they can't tell you, like, are they suffering? You know, what's really going on with them? And when we took her to the vet, they were like, yeah, listen, we don't usually get dogs in here that can vote, so you shouldn't feel bad about the decision because she's not doing well anymore. Like,
right. Well, yeah, she was deaf, blind, had so many like.
I think she had heart
problems.
Yeah. So it was the right time, but I mean, she was such a great dog. So for 19 years we had this dog. I mean, this is amazing. They were like, "What are you feeding these dogs?" And I'm like, "Oh, Purina or Iams is really kind of what we went back and forth with." Which, if pet owners out there are like, "Oh my God, you're horrible people." I mean, they were so healthy and did really well.
They lasted on the
yes,
on
all
that stuff.
both. Yes, and Lego. So we got Lego as a puppy because a dear friend of mine, at the time, she had a beautiful Labradoodle, and her neighbor had a purebred English Lab. And the neighbors decided they wanted to breed the dogs and just to have that experience for like their kids to see the wonder of life and, handle the puppies and all that sort of stuff. And then they kind of just gave them away to their friends, which was really neat. And so we were like, sure, we'll take a puppy because, it's sort of like when you have your own kid, you sort of forget what the pain and everything was like, and it makes you go through it again.
Well, and your kids were like at an age where it was an okay time to get another dog. It's not like you had another baby running around. It's like, they were able to walk as the dogs would be.
But at that point though, you had just left for college, I think, when we got Lego. Yes. And then, so we had Sadie still, we had Luna, and now we decided we were going to get Lego, and we'd had our daughter by that point. So we just loved adding members to the family.
Yeah. Family of 5.
Yeah. And so
6.
Yeah, it just kept growing, but we loved it. And so then we got Lego as a puppy. Like, I got to see him the day after he was born, and oh my gosh, so he was a Labradoodle. We called him a bearded lab. So he had like a little bit of a wave, but he looked much more like a lab than a doodle. This dog was probably the sweetest, golden-hearted dog I think I've ever met. Not a mean bone in his body, total beta, like not just the sweetest dog in the world. Also, a real big pain, though, in the first 2 years. That was when we moved into our current house, and that had like an HOA, and we were trying to put a little playground set in our backyard, and the head of the HOA was going to come over and just make sure that it sort of fit what needed to work for our backyard. And Lego took it upon himself at that point to find a newspaper in our garage that was like set to be recycled and tear it into, I'm going to guess, probably 1 million pieces, tiny pieces. So when she drove into our cul-de-sac, the wind blew 1 million pieces of newspaper all
Welcome to our home.
over
Confetti.
our lawn, the neighbor's lawn, the road, the whole thing, all the sidewalks. It was like something you've never seen before. And she drove up at that very moment, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so then I'm like, hi, I'm so happy to meet you. I'm so glad to be living in here. And then she laughed. She's like, oh, and she's sort of walking backwards. I wish I could help you, but I got a thing, sort of thing.
I can't help you clean this up.
Yeah. So that took a while to clean up. He also really enjoyed chewing around windowsills, like the
yeah, I do remember that.
yeah, the trim. He thought trim was delicious in the house. That was problematic. He also, because our daughter was about 4 years old, he really enjoyed when they were playing outside to grab her by the dress. And
I do remember that.
And occasionally
pull her around.
She would just pull her around by the dress, which that didn't play well for a while. And also he enjoyed playing with our kids and all their friends, but that sometimes meant grabbing the back of someone's T-shirt.
Oh, so, ripping it, yeah.
And he didn't mean to, he wasn't trying to hurt anybody, but he would be, playing, and he'd grab the back of somebody's T-shirt, so I had to purchase a lot of replacement T-shirts for kids.
But, we're talking about the first 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And that brings its own...
Same thing, 2-year mark, everything calmed down.
Everything calmed down, but I will say something...
He was a perfect dog.
He was the perfect dog, except... And here's what I'm going to say.
Oh, you had your moments.
Oh, I had my moments. And I think this is... they say your pet kind of becomes you or kind of mimics you, and we're in this we're in this podcast.
Can't wait to see where this is going.
We're in this podcast about worrying, and my sister's anxiety absolutely rubbed off on Lego. Lego just was obviously your dog. You were home with him the most. He took it so hard anytime Cat left. And he would whine. He would all the time.
He would sigh. He did a lot of sighing.
He did a lot of sighing. He would lay there and he would not eat. His worry was so over the top. Whereas the other animals in the house, they were oh, that stinks. And I'm going to give him a stern talking to when they get home. But Lego would just fall apart. And it was not funny because I'm sad that he felt that way, but it was just funny how much he took your energy and made it his own. And so, this is a little piece of advice to all the worriers out there. Worry less around your dogs because
they're picking up on it.
And I saw it because I noticed with Lego, he you would be gone and he would do all those things, and then when you came home it was oh my god, thank God. You could just feel it. You can feel it in his energy, the way he moved, the way he, whined and talked to you when he came in. It was just, this weird anxiety that I noticed in a pet that I've never seen anywhere else. And it's I've spoken to a lot of friends that have anxious dogs, and it's always around, when they go for walks and they run across people they don't know or whatever, but,
a lot of animals have storm anxiety, things like that. But no, separation anxiety is a real thing for animals, too.
It definitely is, but just some of the ways that he acted, or even if she was anxious, he could feel it, and so he would, act different when she was doing things. It was very weird how in tune he was with her and how much he took on that kind of mentality as well as a dog.
Yeah, that is interesting. I will say, though, for people dealing with anxiety and worries about things, animals are the bee's knees.
Oh, I mean, totally.
I cannot tell you how many times I've been, I used to struggle a lot with going to the doctor, getting that lab coat blood pressure, where anytime I'm in a doctor's office, my blood pressure spikes. Mm-hmm. Whenever I have to get blood drawn, that sort of thing. What would I do? Or in the early years, I would take a picture of Sadie with me. And it was so ridiculous. I had an actual print of Sadie. This was before phones, where I just now have a picture of Floyd on my phone. But I would take this picture, and the doctors and the nurses would kind of chuckle when I pull it out. But it helped me calm down in the doctor's office whenever anything was going on. And so I didn't care that I looked and felt ridiculous in that moment because it genuinely, something about them is so calming. I mean, there was a point when I was pregnant that I had a bout of atrial fibrillation that came on when I was pregnant with my son, and it happened about halfway through the pregnancy. And while I was waiting to get picked up to get taken to the hospital with this, I'm sitting there petting Sadie, and that was helping. It was to pet her was helping me calm down and not be as afraid in that moment. And there's just something so special about these animals that they can't talk, but they kind of look into your soul, and they really make a huge difference.
Well, totally. I mean, we can talk, all day about service dogs and how
they're amazing.
Not only are they helping individuals who are experiencing PTSD or have other challenges, they're trained to do this. They're just absolutely amazing animals. But then what about the ones that are in hospitals for kids, or like just going room to room to make people feel at ease about the things that they're going through, terminal illness and challenges.
They even bring them in colleges for like exam time to have people calm down from stress.
Yeah, animals just have this property where they can like take worries away. But it's funny, my boyfriend and I were talking about getting a dog, and it brought its own worries, right? Like we're thinking about how awesome it would be once they're there, right? But then we're also thinking about, well, we're living a certain lifestyle right now where we're traveling a lot, where, my job has me traveling a bit, and a lot would fall on him, and sometimes he's like out late playing pickleball. He loves pickleball. And so, we've paused on that because we're like, oh, I don't know how that would fit in our lifestyle right now, but there is just something so magical about having a pet, and once we do take that next step, I agree. I think it's just gonna make it so much better. I mean,
and you think they're worth the allergies?
Yeah. I'm actually technically allergic to dogs, according to one of those tests, and my boyfriend is also allergic to dogs and cats. If I had it my way, I would get a cat, obviously, because I'm not allergic, but he is super allergic, and despite getting the shots and everything, I think it would just be challenging unless we got like one of those little nudie cats, which they're so cute, but they're ugly as well. They're maybe I should have said that backwards. They're so ugly, but they're cute. But yeah, I think it's worth it. Long story short, I do. I think there's a lot of love and a lot of connection and a lot of, like you said, a lot of positive feelings that come from having a pet, and I miss that from having, the cats that I've had. And
yeah. I mean, we just lost Lego. He crossed the Rainbow Bridge about a month ago. And again, that was really, really hard. But he, even as a bigger dog, lived till 15, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, we feel so lucky that we have been able to have all these animals for the period of time, long periods of time that we've had them. So, no, they're just so special and so amazing and so funny and so charming and just cuddly and wonderful. Yes, they might chew some things, but then you get over it and it's totally worth it.
I feel like this is sort of how people describe children a little bit too, right? like you go through the whole childbirth thing, and then once you have them, you're like, oh, but it was such a blessing.
The difference though is even at 15, Lego still was so excited to greet me every single day at the door, whereas neither child at age 15 was eagerly greeting me at the door.
No, they're like, oh, hey, or what?
Yeah. They love differently. But there's just like a purity to the pets that is just so amazing. But yeah.
Well, so if you have any worries about the pets that you have in your life, or even worries about getting them, drop them in the comments for us so that we can address them, and maybe you'll introduce us to a new worry, which hope not. But also,
we want to help you with yours.
Yeah, we want to help you with yours. But that has been this episode of Worriosity. Tune in next time for our next topic that we worry about in multi-generations.
That's true. All right. See you later.
Bye.